The Cincinnati Reds and Milwaukee Brewers just made one of the most interesting trades of the 2024 trade deadline, as the division foes have gone ahead and swapped players all on the major league roster, which you very rarely see at the trade deadline. The Brewers are looking to go all in, while the Reds most likely acknowledge that this isn't their year, shedding some salary in the process, getting out of some mutual options both teams are, and also the Reds acquiring a player that can be with them for the long haul, which is a big goal as they go ahead and try and compete in the future with a very young team. With both Frankie Montas and Jakob Junis, who have been swapped in this deal, having mutual options in 2024 to go ahead and play for the same team in 2025, both of them expect to be declined, creating this almost a rental for rental, while the Cincinnati Reds get another player on top of this. A very interesting and complex trade in terms of the baseball behind it, not necessarily what the product is on the field, but what goes on in the minds of GMs and the budgets that each team has to face. In this video, we'll dive into the Joey Weimer, Jakob Junis, Frankie Montas trade that just happened a couple minutes ago, give you grades on each of the trades, and also let you know a little bit about each of the players in the process. Before we begin, it'd mean a lot if you could subscribe to the channel. It's the easiest way to help me out, and you get more trade deadline videos throughout the entire deadline, now with under 24 hours left, and other great video essays about baseball in general from me and other YouTubers out there as well. Without further ado, let's dive into this trade that just happened a couple minutes ago. Frankie Montas has already been involved in a couple interesting trades. I've already done the A's-Yankee one. You can see that in the top corner right now. But he's having a similar career arc to Sonny Gray, going from Oakland to New York, then to Cincinnati, and now to a team up north in the Central. The Brewers are getting a pitcher who they're hoping to unlock a little bit out of after finishing top 6 in the Cy Young voting in 2021. He's had a down year in 2024. Montas has pitched to a 4-8 record, a 5.01 ERA, and his peripherals aren't that great either. A 4.91 FIP suggests that he's actually pretty close to that number. And after missing almost the entirety of the 2023 season, it's been a somewhat disappointing year for Montas, who has a $20 million mutual option for the 2025 season that is likely to be declined by the Brewers, and therefore he's going to hit free agency. His pedigree and the fact that he was a very good pitcher before he ended up getting injured is something that is very appealing to teams as they went and looked at this market, where frankly a lot of these rental pitchers have been going for a la the Yusei Kikuchi trade that has blown a lot of people's minds, including my own, of how that deal got done. So I think in this instance, this is more of a project of where the Brewers know that Frankie Montas needs some work. He's not the same pitcher he used to be in his age 31 season, and they can go ahead and get something out of him that's going to be a huge win for them going forward. Since his time in New York, he struggled with a low strikeout rate and a high walk rate, which has been contrary to where he's been his entire career. So that's really what the Brewers need to focus on. They aren't known for their pitching development, but they are known to have a good development system, especially with their catchers, and catchers are important for pitchers. That repertoire between a pitcher and catcher is very important. So if someone can notice something off about Montas and make an adjustment, the Brewers could definitely be a team that can do that, and if they can unlock something, that'd be a great addition for them heading into the 2024 postseason, which is looking like they will probably make as the division leader in the National League Central. One of the players heading back to the Cincinnati Reds in this deal is Jakob Junis, who has been a long reliever for the Milwaukee Brewers and a spot starter / opener for them that's had a very good performance so far in 2024. He's had a solid career up to this point with the Kansas City Royals and San Francisco Giants, but he's really turned it on so far in 2024. A 4.0 record, a 2.42 ERA is stellar. He has one save, which is nice, but he has been pitching more in a multiple inning role than he has been in a high leverage situation. And although he does have a 4.38 FIP, suggesting that his ERA might be a little bit underinflated for what it actually should be, he's had a nice solid season so far. 2024 has also matched his career low walk rate, which is good. He has a low walk rate throughout his entire career, but to have a career low is always a good thing. That has unfortunately come with a lower strikeout rate compared to last year. Last year was a 26.2% strikeout rate to 5.7% walk rate, while this year it's an 18.8% strikeout rate to just a 5% walk rate. So there is a little bit of that baked into it. His batting averages on balls in play from people hitting off him is also pretty low. It's up 2.22, which makes sense. I mentioned that he has gotten very lucky this year in terms that there's been a lot of just fielder positioning being very good. His average exit velocity is almost identical from what it was last year, but that BABIP is over 100 points lower. So he's gotten very lucky so far that the balls that have been hit have found gloves instead of finding grass or clay. The final player heading over to Cincinnati in this deal is Joey Weimer, who used to be a highly touted prospect but has really struggled so far in the major leagues, and with the Brewers having a crunch in their outfield, it makes sense to go ahead and trade him. He had a subpar offensive performance in his rookie year in 2023 at age just 24. A 204, 283, 362 slash line led to a 74 OPS plus, meaning he was 26% worse in terms of OPS than the league average hitter. But somehow 2024 has been much worse. Through 19 games so far, he has a 154, 185, 154 slash line, which is just abysmal. He's only gotten singles in 27 plate appearances. He struck out 9 times. It's a 33.3% clip. And his OPS of 339 leads to a negative 4 OPS plus, meaning he's 104 times worse than the league average hitter in terms of OPS, which is just absolutely asinine. Fortunately for Weimer, he is known for having some decent defense in the outfield, but that hasn't fixed the fact that he has a ton of swing and miss in his game, because he is a really interesting mix of a big power hitter. The Brewers really tapped that into him after drafting him from the 2020 draft. Also has some above average running speed and great defense, but he's just really not a good hitter, which is a little bit unfortunate. He has all the tools to do everything else you want in an outfielder, but he just can't make consistent contact with the ball, and he can't hit the barrel when he does. It is very unfortunate that he has these struggles so far at the major league level, but he's only 25. There's still a lot of time for him to grow, develop, mature into his body, and figure out exactly what he needs to do to fix. And sometimes a change of scenery is exactly what you need. The Brewers have a ton of outfielders, so this isn't a bad trade for them in terms of the fact that he wasn't getting playing time in the major leagues, and if he really was going to figure something out, he would need a change of scenery. They're banking on that it won't happen given that they traded him within the division, but the Reds are hopeful that they can find out exactly what they need to do to make a tweak in Joey Weimer's game to make him a successful big leaguer and meet the potential that he had as a top prospect. Now that we've talked about the 3 major leaguers involved in this deal, let's go ahead and give this trade some trade grades, because that's what's interesting. How did each team end up doing? For the Milwaukee Brewers, I'm going to give this trade a B. I think this is a solid addition. I think they can fix Frankie Montas. I think they have a couple adjustments that they want to make to go ahead and make sure he is a solid player that they can potentially count on in the rotation heading into the playoffs. Right now, they've already acquired Aaron Civale a couple months earlier. Tobias Myers is someone who has not had a ton of experience at the major league level. He made his major league debut this year. Colin Rea isn't someone I really would want to count on in the postseason, so it makes sense that they were looking to go ahead and add to a very inexperienced group, especially with so many players on the 60-day IL, from DL Hall, Robert Gasser, Wade Miley, Brandon Woodruff. You name them, they're probably on the 60-day injured list if they're a starting pitcher in the Brewers organization, which is a little unfortunate. Aaron Ashby also isn't looking great. He could probably use another change of scenery too. Carlos Rodriguez, you're not really counting on to go ahead and make postseason starts. Jacob Mizorowski either. So they really did need a starting pitcher, and I think that's a good addition. But I just don't think that if you're calling on Frankie Montas to start a playoff game right now, you're setting yourself up for success. I think there are other pitchers that could have went out and tried to do a little bit better on. That's just my opinion. Maybe they should have went for Jack Flaherty. Maybe the asking price was too high. I obviously don't know. We don't know yet because Flaherty hasn't been traded. He should be by the end of day tomorrow, but we don't know anything more than that. But I do think that the Brewers could have been a little bit more crafty about what they were going to get, and I think they still have a hole in their rotation they need to address if they really want to go ahead and be a serious contender come October. I really wanted to be optimistic when it came to the Reds because I do think Joey Weimer has some potential, and a change of scenery is exactly what he needed, which is why I'm going to give them a B-. I think Weimer has the potential to be an interesting piece, and more than anything, he's going to get consistent playing time at the major league level, which can be very beneficial. If you look at their roster right now and who's playing every day, you have Will Benson batting at the bottom of the lineup playing left, Jake Fraley basically also at the bottom of the lineup playing right. They have a definite need in the outfield. You don't really want to count on Austin Slater or Stuart Fairchild or even Santiago Espinosa for at-bats every day. Ty France was just designated for assignment, so now that he's on the team, you hope he's also a change of scenery candidate and can really help, but you never really know. I think there's still some big gaps that need to be filled on the Reds roster before they can go and be a good team. There's a lot of excitement around them, myself included, thinking they could really have a breakout year. But I think looking now, you see they needed some outfield help. Nick Martini, who's on the 60-day IL, is not the long-term answer. A lot of their star players like Christian Encarnacion Strand, Matt McClain are injured. So there needs to be a lot of work done to really fix this team. And unfortunately, this isn't the year for them, but they're recognizing it and making change. Weimer definitely needed a change of scenery. That's good. And I think Jakob Junis will provide some interesting options. He's going to be a free agent. I don't see the Reds or Junis going ahead and picking up this option. And part of this deal, which is an interesting thing that has to be noted, is that the Brewers did send $1 million to cover the contract opt-out of Jakob Junis, as his was $3 million and Frankie Montas was only $2 million, suggesting that this is really just a swap of players who are not going to be with either team next year. He'll provide innings, he'll eat innings, he could probably be someone who can maybe mentor a younger reliever if they have any that they're planning on calling up. But at the end of the day, it's not really anything interesting. He's not going to be on the team during their competitive window, so we'll see exactly how it ends up, but it's not super exciting. The fact they have Joey Weimer until 2028 is a huge plus, so we'll see exactly how things go for him in the long haul. Thank you so much for getting to the end of the video. This was a very interesting trade deadline. I think we're all very excited about how things have played out because it's been really freaking wild so far. So let's see exactly how things end up. And if you want to hear more about all the crazy trades that happened this trade deadline, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the very next video.